Hello everyone and welcome to a brand spanking new episode of the StudioMEcast coming to you in 2024 or current year. Today I am joined in StudioME's speakeasy with my colleague Maria, who has been on a previous episode of the show. Welcome back, Maria.
Thank you for having me yet again, even though I'm always here.
Absolutely. And if you like the sight and sound of this podcast, why don't you come down to StudioME, gentle viewer, and take a free tour and maybe be inspired to start your own podcast or produce some other form of media. But today we are going to be talking about a few different things. Maria, have you liked the first week or two of this brand new year that we're in?
It's not too bad. I have been playing a video game that I just can't stop playing, and it's great. I've been meaning to have another game to play, and this game just it takes the cake.
Of course, you're talking about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. If you haven't played it yet, go and play it. If you like D&D, play it.
I'm still waiting for Pong 2 to come out, but yeah, I've heard many great reviews. Haven't heard a bad thing about the game. And you and I both have a appreciation for D&D and things like that.
Yes.
So it's been nice to hear your reviews of it on a regular basis.
There are a few things that I'm like, this needs a glow up, or like this needs an update. Me and Zach, who is my husband, we were playing it co-op, and there's a lot of times where we get a good amount of glitches happen, and we're just like, what's happening? Okay, all right, where am I? Where's my character? Oh, it's off in the other area that we need to get him back from. But yeah.
But it's sometimes that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Building memories that you can not only have last forever, but go back to your last save point as well.
Yep.
I was playing Age of Empires 2 the other night, way too late, early this morning. And I was playing as the Byzantines, hadn't done that for a while, and I made an enormous army of cataphracts, which are the special heavy elite cavalry unit, and just, after I had all my cataphracts together, I saved and I just, did different charges with them repeatedly and reenacted the charge of the Rohirrim and, Siege of Vienna and all kinds of things. So it was good fun. But there was something that you had brought up a few minutes ago, which was a concept that's been brewing at the back of your mind, which I am very interested to hear about. So why don't you give us a bit of a pitch of what's been on your mind for a little bit?
So, obviously, I don't know where this concept is going to go. I am kind of like at the point now where I'm like, I just want it to kind of grow naturally with how I'm growing as an artist. So, but the concept is, it's all based in Tokyo. Obviously, if you know me, it's Japanese. Yes.
Is this a series or a show? It's an animation project you're thinking about?
It's more of, I want to create characters that I myself fall in love with, essentially. So whether that be mini comics that I make of them, or it's an animated short, or if I decide to do it as a series or a possible movie, like, that's kind of up in the air right now. I don't really know what to do with it. I am just like, okay, I have this idea I think is really cool. I think it could be really cool. I love Tokyo. I love big cities and night lights, and I like lore, like gods and goddesses type of lore and myths.
Is this perhaps a slightly Shinto-inspired?
Yes, it is. And I also like characters like having their own like their own personality and everything, but then having that god or goddess a part of them. I guess you could say I'm kind of like a Rick Riordan type. If you've ever read the Percy Jackson series,
I'm familiar. I haven't yet read them actually, which surprises a few people because my favorite book is Iliad.
Yeah,
but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
You would thoroughly enjoy it.
I'm that's what everybody has told me. So I've heard that isn't Disney Plus doing a new series on it?
Yeah.
Is it out yet? I don't know. I don't have Disney Plus.
I think it's out, but sorry to everybody, but I'm not going to watch it. I'll just keep it short and simple this way. I just stick to the books. I don't like any like theatrical adaptation that has been done for Percy Jackson.
I hear that's the general consensus of fans.
So I'm not gonna do it.
It's too bad because from what I've heard from the fan base that those books could be adapted into movies. Like, there's plenty of books that it's like, how would you even make this? Like, if you made it, it would be pointless. But I've heard those books would lend themselves to being adapted.
Like, it's all based in America and real places in America. So, like, it would be so easy to just actually, like, get good actors that actually look like how they're supposed to look from the book, and like keep it like what's the word? Keep it faithful to the book. Nobody would have a problem if it was faithful to the book. It's like how, like,
you mean like as far as the plot is
the
like,
plot, how the characters look, like how visually how it could be, like.
Oh, sorry, I got turned around with what you were saying. So no one would have a problem with the movie if it was faithful to the book. All right, cool. All right, I got a little lost. All right, no problem.
You're good.
Cool, got it. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's such an interesting thing where you have movies that are adapted from books, and when if you love a book, you're imagining what's going on during the story, and part of the excitement of seeing a movie is the hopes that something that you imagined is going to actually be in front of you, like that you're actually going to see the character, and of course nothing's going to match perfectly with what you came up with.
Absolutely not.
That's one reason I think why it's so intensely frustrating for honest fans of books when there's just what seems to be a pointless error or inconsistency, like, hey, that character's hair is a different color. And it's like, why didn't you just, there's plenty of, like, that actor's had brown hair before. Did they have a different movie deal? Is this not important? What's going on? And I don't know, it's probably for a million different reasons or non-reasons every time, but it's frustrating.
And it really is. But if you look at the Harry Potter series and how the Harry Potter series has been adapted into the movies, I love them both equally. I might be biased because I grew up with them, but like in the book, Harry is supposed to have green eyes.
Yeah, do you know the story behind that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe does not have green eyes.
He has blue eyes. Because he wasn't able to, like, wear the contacts at that age.
I think they cast him, and then he had a special, like, I think he had a type of allergic reaction. There was something going on. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was right in that sweet spot where we had CGI, but it wasn't what it is today, where nowadays they would just, we'll just make his eyes green.
Yeah, it's fine.
Spend $1 million or whatever it is on that, and they would do it today probably.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing: is like you have green and you have blue. They're colors that are really close to them on the color spectrum. So it didn't take me out of the story.
Except for that one shot in the third one where it goes right into his eye. And, sorry. It's
just going off on a different thing.
Like, inaccurate! But, it's like, yeah, especially when, I forget how old I was when the first movies were coming out, but honestly, pretty delighted with at least the first two.
Yeah.
They're really faithful, whimsical adaptations. Chris Columbus directed, I think, both of them.
Yes.
And of Home Alone fame, as well as many other great films. But it kind of makes sense that, like, in a weird way, some people say a lot of the Harry Potter movies feel a bit like Christmas movies. And a lot of that, obviously some of them have scenes that take place literally during Christmas, but they have this odd feel to them, especially I think the first one, and it kind of makes sense as to why when you're like, oh, it's Chris Columbus, and he kind of defined a lot of how people like a certain flavor of Christmas that people enjoy.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. And that's like a thing, like what ABC Family, I think now Freeform, whatever, it's ABC Family. I don't care if they changed their name. They always did, I think they still do, like Harry Potter marathons during Christmas.
There's always at least one.
There's always at least one.
Yeah.
Always
they
one.
Just on a loop.
Just completely.
Yeah,
anyway.
I like talking about films and like adaptations from books and stuff. We can talk more about that, but I don't want to, get away too much from our initial topic,
right?
Or stay too far away from it. So this concept you want to have these characters that are so you're ruminating on a concept.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a comic or an animation. For those of you at home who shamefully haven't seen the previous episode, Maria is our in-house animator here at StudioME, but she's also an illustrator, a well-rounded artist, painter, all kinds of stuff. But that's why when she says, oh, I have a concept, I don't automatically know, oh, you're working on an animated film.
Yeah.
Could be any number of things. And at this point, it's still maybe, which I think is cool when you have an idea or a concept. Maybe it's not even an idea yet, I don't know, but where you're not even sure what medium it's going to go into. Do you normally develop ideas like that, or do you normally have an idea for a picture?
Normally, like, if I'm creating, now this is just like all from my own head and nobody else's, like, being like, hey, you should make this thing or blah, blah, blah. I've always had a tendency to make like random characters and then be like, oh, I want to make this into a thing. And then I never do. And then I never go back to drawing them. Like it's this weird thing.
A lot of homeless characters.
Yeah.
So that hasn't really worked out for you, is what you're saying.
So what I'm kind of changing it up a little, but still keeping it how, like, oh, I make characters because they seem like they have a cool idea and like a cool personality and like cool powers and stuff like that. But to actually stick with them and just kind of let my idea bloom, I guess, because right now I'm more just exploring what I could do. Because I've thought of, oh, I could make like a love story, because I love like romance animes and just like that type of feel. And I love the goofy, like, oh, he likes me, or I like her, da 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 da.
Someone's got to make it.
Exactly. And I love it when characters get flustered. It's great. But then I'm also like, well, I could also create like this really intense backstory of like trauma, I guess, because that's literally what every artist or comic writer, whoever, they love to create trauma for their characters. Because that's...
What do you think that is?
Best way to go.
Like, is it... Well, I'll just ask you, why do you think that is?
Um, I believe that one, trauma makes us grow, forces us to grow. Two, I think it just makes people more interesting as well. Like there's something else there.
It's almost like, oh, something's happened to you.
Yeah.
Which is an odd way, I think, to... I mean, it makes sense, but
Yeah.
it's an odd way to kind of like define people,
Yeah.
I think,
And
if you think about it enough. But yeah, anyway,
yeah,
so.
like, and it's not like defining, but like it's a big part of them and how they act, how they do things, and like just creating a unperfect character. Like I hate perfect characters because there's nothing to nitpick about. They're not interesting. They're not... It's like, oh yeah, they do the thing and they're always right, or like they help somebody and it's like, oh, thank you so much, you're such a good person, and that's it. Like where does that go?
And even sometimes people have even played that for laughs with like sort of a Dudley Do-Right character. But if you look at, sometimes people will talk about, oh, characters need to have flaws. And there's some people that I've talked to who have a hard time, I guess, figuring out flaws for some characters. Like they'll either kind of overboard the trauma side of it. It's like, well, not that there isn't a place for any type, but I just mean like, it's like an example, flawed character, Woody from Toy Story. Wait, hang on, he's the good guy. It's like, yeah, he's a very jealous character.
Yes.
Like self-important, where it's like, yeah, he's been placed in that he's the favorite, but then it's like, it's not like he's like, oh, I'm cool with that when Buzz shows up.
Like he basically goes out to
murderer,
to kill Buzz.
I've rewatched the first Toy Story and I love how weird it is.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, oh yeah, Woody's like scheming to get rid of Buzz, and it goes further than he wants it to, but also the whole thing with the LGMs and the claw, where they have their own world in this thing, and the things they say they've created this entire religion in the game. And I'm like, who came up with this? Like
geniuses. Geniuses came up with this.
Bizarre, but it's so great. And so like when Woody, like Buzz is talking with him, is like, oh, hey guys, and all that. And Woody's just like, I can't believe this. He's like, this is ludicrous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But yeah, like those kinds of things. Like, but like Buzz is portrayed as like this godlike figure, but he also has flaws too. He thinks he's an astronaut.
Yeah, he's
like,
ignorant.
Yeah. Like that's a flaw. Ignorant. Well,
it's not just because you have. Yeah. That's a great. That whole movie is a great example of characters with flaws that aren't bad guys.
Yes.
And in a weird way, the villain Sid is really, in real life. Yeah, I mean, Sid's mean to his sister. Right? Like you shouldn't steal your sister's doll and destroy it.
Don't do that.
But the other stuff he does, it's like, okay, he's a little bit of a weird kid, I guess. But I mean, the reason why it's horrifying is because we see in the movie the toys are alive.
Yep.
If they're not alive, it's like, hey, if you have some little firecrackers and some army men and you're just like, you're getting mortared. There's not actually anything wrong with that unless they're your dad's priceless hand-painted little lead soldiers. Don't do it then. But like, a lot of the things he's doing are just like, oh, that's kid stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also part of why it's such a funny, weird movie.
Yeah. like
I don't know. It's crazy.
And like, whenever you look at this kid, Sid is like the epitome of bully. So like he's the one kid like in your class that like is just always bad for no reason.
He's smashing the machines at the arcade.
Yep.
And sore loser. There's only Yeah, they're really efficient with showing like just a few little things
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, oh, he's mean to his sister. It's, well, most brothers are, at least sometimes.
But then they bring like a sense of humanity to him after like he gets terrified by all of the moving.
Acts like how a kid probably would. It's like,
and then it's like, oh wait, yeah, no, this is an actual kid. Yeah, he's terrible.
So what kind of flaws do you think you'd be drawn toward with your characters that you're conceptualizing now?
That is a good question.
I should make a compilation of people saying that. It makes me so happy.
That's a good question.
I'll ask it again. What flaws do you feel you're drawn to for these characters that you're ruminating on for this new concept?
I really like characters that just take something a little too far. Like, for instance, I will put my favorite character as an example, Sasuke.
Of Naruto fame.
Of Naruto.
Yes.
Like, he takes his whole vengeance thing way too far. Like, way too far. To the point where, like, he goes after his brother because his brother killed a little family. And then he finds out that his brother's actually the good guy. And then he's like, yeah, no, I'm going to destroy the Leaf Village and blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, I'm going to be Hokage. And it's like, what is going on in your head, boy? Like, but I love that.
I don't think it's the solution to everything, but the entire time I watched the first, I think, couple hundred episodes of Naruto, and I really enjoyed it. The hot take, Naruto's a great show. But
it is.
For the entire time I watched, I was like, why isn't this show called Sasuke? I kept waiting for Naruto to become the main character. A lot of it's from his perspective, but and there's a lot of things I learned that I really appreciate about what they did with that. Yeah. But it's not the solution for everything, but the entire time I was like, Sasuke just has got to get laid. Like, this boy needs to calm the fuck down.
For real.
Just get figures like you can't be angry all the time. Chill the fuck out. Enjoy your training or something.
Like enjoy having friends.
It's yeah, go kill your brother, but or whatever you want to do.
Naruto's your best friend. Why don't you actually just be best friends with him? Or hot take.
Even Naruto's just that guy's so driven, which I love characters that are driven. Yeah. They're just I have a goal and I'm going for it. But even he had ramen every once in a while and was just I'm enjoying this right now for what it is.
Yep.
Good for him. I don't think he even realized it because he doesn't I don't know if he has an arc for this, but the part of the show I watched, he was not a smart character, and maybe that was a good thing for him.
He's still not a smart character.
Hey, you know what? It's whether you're smart or not, in my opinion, has nothing to do with how good of a person you are, because there's plenty of intelligent, smart people who, applied their mental abilities toward eliminating a lot of, as they put it, undesirables. So, it's and there's plenty of dumbasses out there who have made my life better, I'm sure. So it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anyway, intelligence isn't a moral point. But it can be seen as I almost hesitate to call it a flaw, except for when I'm playing D&D or something.
Yeah.
If there's a character who has low intelligence, it's never a good thing. So
no, but
because you want all your stats to be high.
Yeah, Yeah, but
Unless,
having one really low stat and that not being something that you're just like, oh, like charisma, I don't care about that.
mhm,
Like, no. Put it into either intelligence or wisdom
mhm.
because that's where the fun stuff starts to happen.
Honestly, yeah. Having a flaw with a character that you're playing is, in my experience as well, pretty much what you're gonna have the most fun with, and
Oh,
what you're going to
absolutely.
apply the most time to.
Yeah.
It depends on the game and the
Yeah,
player. But all right,
absolutely.
so characters who take things too far. Sasuke as an example.
Yes.
Are there any other flaws that stand out to you that
Um,
you've been?
I personally like also like the ignorance flaw.
Hmm,
Um, just like or being so under a rock that like you don't know like nuances in everyday
hmm,
uh like whether it be in social situations, social conversations, or just just being way too overly optimistic about everything. Kind of like Naruto, I guess. Um, it just creates for a good balance between characters to have one that is it's like yin and yang, you know, just having those uh one balances out the other um with their good flaws and their bad flaws can be taken over by like the other character. So like
hmm.
I love that kind of combination of a character having a flaw and then a different character has essentially the cure for that flaw.
Hmm.
Um it's it's kind of weird.
Stepping into the real world from our conceptual musings,
Hmm.
do you find there are flaws that perhaps some of the ones we've talked about is
Hmm.
that are used to make a narrative more enjoyable or entertaining or engaging that don't put you off in real life?
Like stuff that would happen in like
Well, like Woody is a jealous character, and that
yes.
helps make him more interesting. I
Yes.
don't like being around someone while they're being jealous, typically.
Okay.
All right. Are
Fair.
there flaws that I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think like, it's interesting how you can really the thing that helps us to engage with characters more
Hmm.
often is a
Yeah.
flaw, but is also uh, might be something that pushes you away from real people
Hmm.
more. And I'm seeing you in the general sense,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
the you gentle viewer as well, perhaps. I don't know. But then I guess maybe there's people who gravitate toward uh, some people might call them toxic traits or flaws or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. Have you thought about that kind of thing? Like, hey, these are things I don't like in real life, but I like in characters.
I would say uh I like at least characters in the beginning. Um I like more negative characters. But like just a negative outlook on life and stuff like that, but I hate being around negative people who are like negative 100% of the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um like if I am, I have to be with them like in spurts because otherwise I'm exhausting my own positive energy.
You're trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'd like to say I'm a pretty positive person,
You come
but
across that way to me every day. So, yeah.
um
I said that like I was annoyed by it. I'm not. It's a wonderful work environment that we have here. Our company culture is bright and cheery
no,
and
no.
friendly. So.
Seriously, it is. Um but like I'm not like that person that's going to be like, oh, this bad thing happens. Oh, well, something good's going to happen out of it. I'm like, yes, something good's going to happen out of it. But can I just like be negative right now? Because so
That's interesting. Another thing to think about is sometimes positive traits in real life can be off-putting.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like, and if someone who I love dies, or I should say when they do,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about how they're in a better place now.
Yeah. Like, I know that.
You know,
like, they're at
or
peace.
I might even debate that.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to, it doesn't matter to me right now to talk to you about, and it's also, I'm not even trying to feel better right now.
Yeah. Like,
I don't want to feel better.
Sometimes it's really good to just let yourself feel bad. Like, we're always constantly trying to feel good, constantly. And we're like, oh, I have a bad thought, or like, oh, I'm starting to feel bad. I got to get out of it. Like, which I should probably take my own advice on this. But just to actually just be in the negative and like explore how you're feeling with that negative. And I think it really helps us to understand who we are as well. Like, if you like just feel yourself in the negative moment and just take everything in, I think it can be really healthy. Obviously, try not to do that all the time, but I guess the theme here is what I'm going for is that whole yin and yang, that balance. You have to have that balance.
Yeah, the ocean's not supposed to just rise or just recede.
Yeah.
The tide, I should say.
The tide doesn't come in and stay in.
It's, balance keeps coming up as a topic for everything I deal with. I think balance is something that I'm glad I've had at the forefront of my mind my whole life, because it's not something I'm naturally good at for basic almost anything.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty extreme personality with most things that I deal with. Even if it's like, and that doesn't even mean everything I do I'm like all in on.
Yeah.
It's like it's really remarkable for me personally if there's something that I'm kind of moderately involved with.
Yeah.
Or kind of just doing. It's like, because I will like really go into doing some type of task. Like, even if it's laundry, it's like I'm doing it all at once, or it'll be something that I just completely ignore or put off. And it's like, well, the reality is you kind of just, most of the things that you're going to deal with, at least in the way that my life is, I kind of just need to do on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And that's not the type of person that I've been so far. It requires a lot of discipline that I don't always have. But okay, so you've got talking about flaws and positive traits. We draw ourselves toward negative characters sometimes, but not so much negative people.
Yep.
Do you think the things that we're talking about here, you find to, like, as far as what people respond positively to narratively and negatively to in real life, do you find that to be pretty consistent with most people? In your experience?
In my experience, I'd like to say yeah. Like, the one thing that I have realized is that the characters that people tend to like fall in love with or like are really attracted to are normally the ones who have those same people in real life. And or like they like those same type of people. Not necessarily they have them in their lives, but they tend to be drawn towards them. I.e., for me, I like my edgelords and himbos. both equally, and they are on two separate sides of the spectrum. And I also have like a typing towards like loving characters that have like wolf-like attributes. Just attributes meaning more towards like personality wise, like they tend to be more cocky, or they tend to be more like outgoing and stuff like that. And I've found that way with like my husband, i.e., like all of the characters that he like falls in love with are either me or they are like one of our friends, or somebody that we know.
So there is a consistency to the people that, using your husband as an example,
Yes.
the characters that he enjoys and connects with and falls in love with reflect the types of people in real life that he goes with.
Yes. So like, and that's not to say that is a good or a bad thing. Like, it could be taken either way. In my case, for me, it's always been a fairly good thing. It says, okay, well, I like this character. Why do I like this character? Okay, it's because they're like, I want to try and make them better, or I just like their personality because it's different than anything that I've seen. I forget where I was going with that. Whew, train of thought.
That's all right. So now, as this relates to your concept then, so where are you with this idea? Have you been drawing characters or places and things, and also this is kind of two-parted question. Where are you at with it? And also, I know you draw, but while you draw, do you also write?
I'll go with the first question. Yes, I have 4 characters that I've created right now that have like actual names and like faces on stuff. My 2 main characters are twins, and they are literally the sun and the moon. And then I have this other character who's one of the love interests. She is from the goddess Inari. Like, she has the goddess Inari a part of her, so she's very fox-like. And then I have this other character, which I don't know where I want to go with him, but I might make him into like a bad guy, or I might not. I don't know if I want him to have like a god attached to him or not, but it's that whole exploration thing. Like, I want to see how it goes, but all I know right now is that he is a taiko drummer, and that's pretty much where I got right now. I want to expand it into like this full world of like Shinto gods and goddesses, and also touching on like the Oni and Kami, and like there's so many different ways where I can go with it. I think that's what's so daunting to me, and I'm like, okay, what can I focus down on, and what is going to be like really cool about it.
Is there, and forgive me if you clarified this or not, is it sort of like it takes place in the real our world, or shall we say the physical realm, and then these characters are, we'll call them spirits, and they're like interacting with humans, or is it is it more like Big Hero 6 where it's like this is just a different world and place kind of?
You know, I've been thinking about that, and like I think I might be leaning more towards it's just like a different world entirely.
Is it in a recognizable time period? Like, is it Japanese spirits and Shintos in the 80s, or like is there a inspiration there?
I want it to be like modern, and taking a lot from Japanese culture and just different aspects of it. Like for instance, like I am really interested in the Yakuza and like exploring that.
For those of you of the uninitiated, Yakuza are Japanese mafia.
Yes.
Please don't kill us.
Please don't.
We're just, everybody already knows.
I like the concept of it. I don't like it in like
we don't
practice.
Don't tell him you don't like Maria. It's like
No.
My drunk idiot friend she has zero opinion. I'm kidding.
I just don't want people to be hurt. Anyways,
we're not snitching to our loyal and very welcome Yakuza fan base joining us from Japan who tunes in every week faithfully to this show.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you for your viewership and patronage. Not that we know of any clients who are affiliated. Let's move on from this bit. So you're interested in the Yakuza.
Yes.
In the artistic, unprofessional but professionally artistic sense.
If I don't know if you've heard or seen this game called Yakuza Like a Dragon, but the Yakuza games, like, they're a series. They follow basically this one character, but Like a Dragon is completely different, and like still has like the same characters and everything, but it's a different character that you're actually playing as. And it's so wacky and wild, but can also be like really like really serious and really intense. And I want to create something like that. Like one of my favorite animes, Gintama, does something similar where it's just goofy off the wall stuff. Like one minute you have like this guy in a duck costume, and then the next moment you have like my favorite character getting like speared through, and I'm like, they're sobbing and crying. Like
Nice.
It's like that. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to like play off of.
The tonal range of Freddie Mercury's 4-octave voice.
Yes.
Sounds lovely.
But anyways, yeah. Just having it kind of based off of the Yakuza and like different clans of the Yakuza. All fictional, because I have no idea what goes on in that world.
Well, my most fun little bit of trivia about the Yakuza or Yakuza related is that Bob the Builder almost wasn't like accepted in Japan because in Yakuza there's this old samurai tradition where the most important finger of the hand is the pinky finger, where it's like European sword fighting, the strength is more up top of the hand, Japanese sword fighting, bottom of the hand. This is what I've been told. And so if a samurai was to be punished by his lord, like one of the worst punishments you could get, aside from kill yourself, is to take off a joint of your pinky finger, because then that would drastically affect your swordsmanship. It's also something people could see. I'm sure there's some shame with that. Yeah. But it also makes you rely on your lord more because you can't rely on your sword as much. And so the Yakuza kind of, I don't know if they continued or resurrected this concept of doing that. And Bob the Builder
Only
has this. And so they were
four
worried that
fingers.
kids would think he was part of the Yakuza.
Interesting.
But they screened it anyway, I believe. So, but that's my little. Every time the Yakuza comes up, that's what I talk about. Bob the Builder.
Yeah, and like they do that also as like a punishment as well, like within the Yakuza.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, kind of going off of that, it may or may not. I may or may not keep to the Yakuza theme, but definitely, like, my main characters are like of authority, like right under authority. They aren't the authority, but like they're like the son and daughter of the authority, essentially. But they're hated within their family.
That's no fun.
Yeah, but that's pretty much the basis of it.
So that's a brother-sister family story.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's a brother-sister thing, but also, like, I also kind of want it to be like a romance thing too, and it's like I said, I'm exploring. I'm seeing where I can take it. What would, like, which way is more interesting, or whatever. Like, yeah.
Well, I want to talk about the world a bit, which is in a lot of fictional pieces that have some kind of fantastical world in them, there's kind of two ways that are most common for people to do it. One is it's a world that you go to and then come back from, whether it's Hogwarts or Neverland or Narnia, etc. And then there's the other way, which is to have your story is taking place in that world, and there's not an implication that our world is outside of it necessarily. So whatever, a billion different stories out there. Your story, you said you've been at least leaning toward having it be its own, like, sort of spiritual world in its own, sort of the little, and you're also dealing with all of these spirits and stuff. Do you view it, does that reflect your view at all of the world as being, like, I don't know how to ask it. It's like, do you think of the world as a spiritual place to begin with in real life? Is that an inspiration at all for your work? Like,
do I think that like there are, like, supernatural things in the world?
I guess that wasn't exactly what I meant, but that's an interesting question. Yeah. Do you think there are...
I mean, I do. I do.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
I have not.
Have you seen a UFO? And you know what I mean by UFO.
Yes. No, I haven't.
Okay.
But the people whom I am close to and whom I trust with my entire life, they all have had supernatural experiences, and I firmly believe them. So I do think that there's just something that we can't see that's also a part of our world.
And so that has a lot to do with the way that, like, you see the world this way.
Yeah.
Is that something you think about on a daily basis?
Sometimes.
Has that at all been some of the inspiration for this particular concept, do you think?
If it is, then I am not aware.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it more of, like, I really like the appeal of, like, just having another mind within yourself is an interesting concept that's actually able to, like, communicate with you, and you can actually understand what's going on. Like, like, you have a telepathic connection or whatever.
I thought you meant, like, almost like there's another character in you. Is that what
yes,
you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. It, like, going.
And you have a telepathic connection with that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just like having like a spirit attached to you or something.
Mhm.
Like you're in constant communication. I guess you could probably say that that's like a thing that I wish could be a thing in real life.
How come?
I don't know. I think I think what it's saying is like you have somebody else to talk to who's not going to like bullshit or try to like deceive you or anything.
Almost like you. Let me see. Tell me if I'm putting this into incorrect words. Being able to talk to yourself without like bullshitting yourself as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
having that like light of truth and like not thinking that everything's in your own head. Like you have somebody there saying, no, you're fine, or stop that. You were no. Like,
Yeah, that would definitely be reassuring if you're like, I think it actually went down like this. I'm like, yeah, totally.
It totally did. It totally did.
And not have that question of like, well, maybe they're just being my friend right now.
Yeah.
If that's something that you worry about,
Yeah.
gentle viewer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Just being.
it's a cool idea.
But yeah, that's how I feel that spirits are. Or they would tell you the truth. Period. Because what do they got to lose? They're not on the material plane. Like
unless they're bored. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Greek
that could also
stuff,
be a thing.
But yeah.
That could also be a thing.
So you've got some characters drawn out here.
Mm-hmm.
A setting.
Yes.
At least that you're leaning toward, but it seems you're pretty happy with the idea
Yeah.
of it. What is the process that you're going through at the moment, if any, to develop it?
It's definitely a thing that I think about whenever I'm not doing anything else. So like when I'm going to bed or whatever, like I'll be thinking of that, or I'll have like a dream about it, and then I forget it in the morning. But
I keep telling myself I'm gonna put a notepad by my bed. I never do. Haven't yet. It's a new year, everybody.
I'm just way too lazy to write down what's in my head. It's more of.
Do you get a lot of inspiration from dreams?
Yes, I do, actually. Whenever I have like a really good dream and like there's an image that it's basically imprinted in my head, I'm like, I need to get this down before I forget about this dream. And I've done that on a few occasions. Like I had a dream about this girl who completely lost her memory, but had a butler who knew everything about her and like loved her and just took care of her really well. And like she was apparently like this essentially otherworldly chosen one that like they had been waiting for. And I was like, I need to draw them, like, because it was like this big overarching story of like the chosen one, and then it was also a romance story, and I was like, I need to draw these characters. So I was like, okay, immediately let me draw them. And it was a lot of fun to kind of see that happen, but I haven't had a dream like that in a while, and I really want to.
Yeah, it's if I could pick the dreams that I have, that would be crazy. And I've heard there's some people have kind of figured out how to do that, or they practice it. But something I figured out about me is if my life is very boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if I'm, and I can't afford to have a life this boring, which is good because it's bad. But, like, uh, yeah, if I am doing nothing, there's nothing I'm interested or excited about, and I'm not seeing people, like I'm not spending time with friends, and I'm just like, not like, before I was married, there was a long time before, there was a period of my life where I went through doing this, and it sounds great, but it's not, especially if you're like me and hate yourself when you're doing this, but that's hard to stop. But basically, when my life is boring, okay, I have the most amazing, exciting dreams. Like this very well written.
It's a well-written dream.
Well-written, nicely produced, excellent adventure dream that I ordered,
Yep.
And, that's, and it's kind of scary because I'm like, I know that if I did that again or whatever, that would happen again. The problem is, it's like one of those things that you grow to, like, you do it, but it's not good for you. And I was like sleeping so much time away. I wasn't even tired. Like, and I was just like I wouldn't even eat. It was ridiculous.
That sounds like depression.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was but they didn't tell me depression meant you had cool dreams. So, but yeah, that was definitely it. It was ridiculous. So anyway, the much better days since then and ahead. So,
right, you asked me, do I write when I draw?
Yes.
I only write when I draw when either a character is saying something in my brain, or I have like a title that I just want to give them that's not their actual name, like the Sass Master or something.
The Sass Master?
Yes.
Love it.
Or I'm actually like exploring a new character design. Like I'll draw like one sketch. I'll keep all of my bad sketches.
Good.
Like I'll keep them all. I'll X them out.
Just in case you die and someone finds them, like, wow, you were shit at that.
Like
No, I know.
Yeah, like this is bad. I know. Like
don't judge me.
Yeah, seriously. That's literally me.
That's why.
It's in the back of my brain.
Because you don't need to remind yourself. It's like in case anyone sees it.
Yeah. In case I forget. It also
feels like you're doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, aha, decisions.
This is bad.
Where do you write? Like, is it in the margins? Is it in the...
It'll be right next to my sketches. And my notes in my sketchbook are all over the place. Like I'll go back to them and I'll be like, like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Like, okay, I remember writing this down, but what is this supposed to mean with it? It's either that or I swore I wrote more stuff down and there's just one word and I'm like, thanks, Pass Maria. That helps out a lot.
Like, oh, this is such a brilliant... I'll never forget what this indicates.
Like, in the moment, I'm like, oh, yeah, I have this. It's going to be just like this one word. And then, like, I think that I wrote down, like, 10 billion things and go back to it later. I'm like, Maria, why? Mm-hmm. You're so dumb. You should have written down more. Why did you write down more?
Oh, my goodness. So here's a question that is fun to ask your artist friends. I'm going to ask you.
Oh boy.
All right. You're somewhere, doesn't matter where. And you turn away for a moment and you look back and someone you know has just picked up your sketchbook
Mm-hmm.
and is about to open it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel in that moment?
I'm more just like, do they know it's my sketchbook?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they didn't ask.
They're just like, oh, it's Maria's sketchbook.
They're very rude and don't realize it. But they're just, oh, let me just look at your brain.
I'm like, I would just let them do it. Because that's how I've always been, is like, I know a lot of my artist friends and like friends I grew up with who had sketchbooks, they hated it when people looked through their sketchbooks. I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you want to look? Okay, yeah, there's nothing interesting in there. I don't know what you like. I know quite a few people who are like my best artist friends. They're just like, please don't go through my sketchbook. There's a lot of spicy stuff in there, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, spicy happens. Like,
spicy happens. That should be a nice little bumper sticker there.
Spicy happens. But yeah, no, if somebody just picked up my sketchbook, I'd just be like, okay. And then I'd just stand there and watch them flip through my sketchbook. And honestly, I would probably look at their facial expressions.
Mm-hmm. Well, follow-up, has this happened to you?
Most of the time, I don't think there's been a time where somebody just picked it up without asking. Everybody asks.
That's nice
of
them.
And
I'm glad you had that experience of not having that experience.
And I always said yes. Unless it's like a child that's flipping through my sketchbook and I know there's something that I really don't want them to see, then I'll be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's always been a yes. And every time, like, they react to the ones that I didn't think were good drawings.
Interesting.
Like, the drawings that I always thought, and I, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I just remember feeling this way. That they'll look at the ones that I like put my most time and effort in, and they just flip past it with no reaction, and I'm just like, what? Okay. Like, you didn't like it? In my brain. Obviously, I don't say that. I'm not like, you don't like it. Like, but
that one.
but it's always like my stupid doodles that everybody loves, and I'm like, why do you? That's not even well drawn. Why do you like that? It's just a dumb doodle. So long answer to a short question. But yeah, that's my answer.
That's great. Well, fantastic. So, is there anything else about this concept that you'd like to share, or anything that we haven't gone over yet with it that you'd like to aerate?
Not necessarily. That's pretty much the gist.
I forget if you said, is there a villain to this story?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you think there may be a
villain?
Oh,
there's definitely going to be a villain. There has to be a villain. There always has to be a villain. For every good story, there has to be a villain.
What do you think Sorry.
I'm looking at you, Disney.
I was about to ask. I was about to say, what do you think the condition of villains these days is in cinema? And
we've had this conversation before.
I'd like to have more. Look, complex characters are great.
Yes.
Some people seem to mix up complex with weak and undefined.
Yep.
And it would be nice if you're gonna have. It's all right for a bad guy to just be a bad guy. They don't always have to have a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
And here's my argument for that, which is it good to have compassion for your fellow humans? Sure.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, I will say.
Yeah.
But there is, and is it fair to say that, hey, some people turned out a way you don't like because of something that happened to them that they didn't like, and maybe are they not super happy with themselves? Sure. Very common.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some things where it kind of doesn't matter how you got to be that way, because I'm having to deal with what this person is like now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good enough reason to have just a villain in a movie where it's like, look, it kind of doesn't matter at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that she's trying to kill the princess.
Yep.
So maybe you can...
How
they can have their tragic backstory in a prequel some other time, but right now you don't have to go to hell, but you can't stay here and you're gonna die.
It goes into real life here. Just because something bad happened to you as a child does not give you the right to do this same thing as an adult to somebody else. Like, if you try to say, oh, it's because this thing happened to me as a kid. Yeah, no, that doesn't excuse your actions for now.
Yeah, it's like you think about how bad did you think the person who did that to you was? Well, maybe they went through the same thing you did.
Yeah.
But think about how they were to... Anyway.
It's
philosophizing.
Break the chain, people. Break the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. I like a good villain. And
Same.
also a charismatically evil villain. Someone you're like, oh, they're so bad. Like
I love to hate villains. I love to hate them.
Yeah. It's acceptable too, because it's not a real person.
Exactly.
You know, so you're not even like treating a person that way. It lets you, vent out that nasty bit of us that doesn't like people sometimes.
It's just like when Avatar was coming out, Last Airbender people, I don't talk about the other one.
Right. You don't like the James Cameron ones at all?
No,
okay.
I don't. I don't talk about it.
Because when you said I don't talk about the other one, I was like, well, the other one is called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because I thought you were talking about the movie.
No.
I was like, they do have the same name.
Peter, that movie did not happen.
Then what happened to me, Maria?
But anyway, side tangent.
Yeah,
but yeah, example, whenever Avatar was coming out, I hated Ozai and Azula so much. And it wasn't until it ended that I was like, I love to hate them. I love to hate them.
Just waiting for them to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
And I think Azula also is a great example of I mean, pretty much both of them, you could say. There's sometimes something happens to somebody and negatively affects who they are later. But there is such thing, because I know this because I've done it, where you just chose to do the wrong thing.
Yep.
And that happens.
Yep.
It
Absolutely.
can be at any level, whether it's mommy told you not to do that thing, steal that whatever, all the way up through. It's like adults are just big kids, and some of them have money.
Yep.
Like it's
Absolutely.
it's like that. Just because you did the wrong thing and you knew it as a kid doesn't mean that people just stop
doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's like some people do, they become an adult and they learn discipline and have whatever. It's like, but the point, I don't understand why I feel like I have to justify this so much. But it's like, there is such thing as like, no, they know they're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And if you do that, eventually you can learn to like that part of you, knowing that you're doing the wrong thing, and you can get addicted to that.
You can get addicted to being the bad guy.
Yeah.
You can do that.
People think, oh, these villains are so unrealistic. I'm like I'm sorry. Meet some more people. Learn a little bit more history.
Like,
sure, it's not common, but do you really want your villain to be common all the time?
Do you really want your villain to have like this exotic backstory as to why they are who they are, and there's some redeemable quality to them?
I mean, sometimes I would like that.
I mean, I've gotten way too much of them. Like, I've gotten overstimulated.
I see.
By those characters.
I think it's fine for people to make stuff, but I feel like I just haven't really gotten a great villain in a while.
Yeah,
is the thing for me.
I don't think we have.
One that has a song you can sing and really stamp your feet down.
Like,
in the dark of the night, people will find her. It's like, yeah.
God, I haven't heard
the Russian imperialist family.
I haven't. Oh God, I need to rewatch Anastasia now.
Yeah, Don Bluth, great stuff.
So
excellent
good.
music.
So good. I miss
great,
that.
Underrated soundtrack.
Yeah,
honestly.
it really is. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But
and Bartok, wonderful supporting comedic role.
Oh, absolutely.
Bartok the Magnificent. Excuse me. There we go.
Absolutely.
Got his own film as well.
But yeah,
Baba Yaga, and I'm not talking about Keanu Reeves. John Wick fans, I'm one of you too, but Baba Yaga does not mean the boogeyman. Look her up. She's actually scarier in a weird way, but I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just thinking about the last thing that I got really emotional over, and like what I really wanted like the villain to get just their just desserts.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've had that feeling since I watched Attack on Titan. Actually, like it's so good.
Go humans.
Like, go.
I haven't finished the show yet.
You need to finish the show.
I was watching it with a friend and we loved it, and then they moved away, and I haven't moved on to watching the next episode.
It's so good. But yeah, there's a bit in it where there's a group of characters that I absolutely that I hate.
The Titans, maybe. I don't know. Probably ahead of where I'm at then.
Oh,
that's good.
Probably, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and like Aaron gave it to them.
Aaron
Yeager gave it to them, and I was like, yes. Like I was screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to feel that again.
Yeah, it's great you want to, I think there's a lot of people who really grapple with, are we really, what's a cause or thing that is completely pristinely clean that I can really get behind or whatever, and so it might seem frivolous to have characters who are clearly good or clearly bad in your media because maybe you feel like your world doesn't reflect it. But I pose this to you now, gentle contrary viewer who's arguing with me that I've just made up, that maybe perhaps that's exactly why it would be nice to have these things so that we can at least, escape for an hour and a half from our complex and drab, wretched lives, which we are very blessed to have. So we thank you all for joining us for another episode. We wish you all a wonderful new 2024. And Maria, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me to this.
Absolutely. It's always fun talking. And everybody, if you've liked what you've seen or heard or both, then why don't you book the Speakeasy here at StudioME in East Liberty, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We are open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Except for some major holidays, we can always call to see if we're open. Or just stop by, knock on the door. We're here. So, thank you. Bye-bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to start your own podcast, why wait? Reach out to us at StudioME.me, and I hope you hear me again soon.